Good afternoon. So today's Wednesday, the 27th of November, and welcome to Saba's Way of Life. So today I'm going to talk about sleep with you, and it's something I promised that I would do in a video last week. And I would recommend that you get your pen and paper, because I'm not reading out of a book. I'm sharing a lot of knowledge that I have learned over the years from various sources, but then put into practice for myself. And it has made the world of difference. And I continue to learn every day. We're always learning. But I think it would be very, very, very helpful for you to write these things down. As always, I think on a completely holistic basis, which means I look at the big picture and encompass a lot more than just looking at everything in its parts, which is looking at everything in its parts is the single reason for chronic disease today, disease of the mind, mental illness, and disease of the body as well, disease of everything, breakdown of society completely. But before I do that, I'm going to share that Bunjiri, which I've talked about in a couple of videos, but it's ready, and I finished it off today, and it's delicious. And let me turn this around. So you can see I've got a jar of it here, and this is going to my parents. Here is what I've got left at home, and I'm just washing out a couple of large glass jars to store this in. And I just want to show you what it looked like. Now remember, those of you who've watched the videos, these are a mixture of nuts. I've got semolina in here, sultanas, and other things which are used to eat as a snack in the winter to heat up the body during the winter. So that it's especially good for elderly people, and it's always made, often made, for women who've just had a baby because it aids in lactation. Heat has a transformative effect. Think of in Ayurveda, they call it Pitta. It's a transformative fire effect, which helps everything to move. So it will help the breast to be able to lactate and draw milk out. These are all medicinal healing remedies that have been passed down for centuries, because it's the understanding of how food works in the body. I want to talk to you a lot more about which foods work for what people and how that's changed since society now doesn't live in its own natural habitat anymore, but the way we used to live in communities in certain habitats, everybody had a similar kind of composition, more or less, so they would all eat similar foods. It's very, very different now. But I'm going to take a spoon of this, and then I'm just going to go through what's in it. Oh, it's so delicious. And I've taken too much, and I'm going to be chewing while I talk to you. Well, it's really Moorish. You just want to keep eating it, and that's the danger. But this will last all winter. You just need a couple of spoons a day as a snack. And I'm pretty sure all the the energy snacks that you can buy, the fruit and bar snacks, were all stolen from, culturally appropriated from India. Because these ancient remedies, these ancient ways of eating food have been going for thousands of years, and the birthplace of this type of food were all India. In the West, you didn't even have the ingredients. Those types of nuts, almonds and cashews, for example, didn't exist. So just like so much food we have today, which has been culturally appropriated by the West, it's happened after brutal colonialism, not just in India, but throughout the world by the West, especially the British and the Americans. This panjiri has got in it, I've actually written it down to read out to you. So it's got almond, pistachios, dried coconut. Now you can do your own search and look at the properties of these ingredients. It's got it's called jar murgas, 4 seeds, which kind of come from the melon family, and they're great brain boosters. So for example, cucumber seeds, watermelon seeds, 4 seeds from the melon family. Golden sultanas, gur, which is that wonderful raw sugar that I talked to you about. I want to show you what it looks like. It's here. There's different versions of it, but this is a kind of one that's very, very soft that I've got, and I dispensed. Can you see here? Looks like fudge, doesn't it? But you get them in pieces as well. This is another type that is actually in chunks. Has a quite bitter aftertaste because it's raw. It's not processed and has lots of minerals in there, believe it or not, and micronutrients. Do your homework on jaggery, quality jaggery and gur. We've also got flax seeds, linseeds. Look up the properties of those. Ginger powder. When ginger is eaten in its dry form, it really heats up the body. But ginger does so much more as well. Look it up. This has also got gund. Gund is something that I didn't know what it was, but it's actually a sap. It's a derivative of the acacia plant and also has extremely warming properties. Coarse semolina helps to bring it together. And it's got something called pul macana in it, or pul macana, which is a fibre. And it's also mentioned a lot in very old ancient texts, Ayurvedic texts. These are the old ancient texts based on spirituality and a way of life, a way of living in simple forms. Ayurveda actually means the knowledge of life. Again, it's a 5,000 plus year old way of living, a way of medicine, a way of everything. You know, medicine wasn't separated from a way of life. It was part of a way of life, because how you live is your medicine. I'll go into all of this in more detail another time. So it's got pul macana in it, and so it's also used in fasting. But all these ingredients together create this wonderful, warming, nourishing, packed with nutrient snack that you have 2 or 3 spoonfuls a day. So I've made enough here, which is going to last 2 or 3 months, which is pretty much the winter. And I made it especially for mum and dad because they're old and it would do them a lot of good. Right, the other thing I just want to show you is I'm going to be a halim. And I've taken out some neck meat, chicken breast. I'm doing something separate for that. And there's some more mixed kind of meat here that we were given by a neighbour. Halim is a dish. It's a Mughal dish again. It's kind of like an army dish that was used by the army in the Mughal Empire, and it's mixed with lots of different types of lentils and rice and pearl barley and lots of spices, ginger, garlic, cardamom, cinnamon, you name it. A great winter kind of thick soup with meat and lentils. It's a kind of a mishmash and a kedgeree of everything. Don't mistake that for khichdi, which is something else completely. So it takes quite a bit of time to cook that, but not as long. This was a labour of love making what I have done here, this panjiri. It's taken a couple of weeks because I've been doing it in stages. Consistency, because I was hand grinding everything. A very rich, valuable food here. Everything I make is medicinal and everything I cook is medicinal. So this should inspire you to just gauge an understanding of why you eat certain types of food at certain times of the year, and treating and seeing food as medicine, and understanding that just because I'm sharing certain foods that I eat doesn't necessarily mean that's what you should eat, because you may be from a different background to me. You may be genetically very different, traditionally, culturally, ancestrally, from the West, for example, and certain foodstuffs would not work so well in your body. So how would you know? Well, the idea behind my videos is for you to gain an understanding of why I'm doing what I'm doing, so that you can then use your own mind to improvise yourself and find a solution that works for you and your family. That's the reason I share this, not because I'm cooking this so you go and cook it or you go and prepare it. It's understanding how I think about food. And it does mean that you must learn, or we all together, I'm talking to myself as well, I learnt the hard way, we must learn to take responsibility for everything in our lives. Intelligent human beings take responsibility for everything. There's no such thing as victim mentality. It doesn't exist. That exists for the dead mind. I'm going to talk about dead minds in a moment when I talk about sleep. Smart minds take responsibility for everything in their life. Full stop. They don't blame it on conditioning. May be one of the causes, but they won't blame it on that. Because what's the point? How will that help? It's not because, your car's not working in the morning or your heating's not working and it's everybody else's fault. No. Take responsibility for everything that happens in your life, and understand for every choice that you make, you will bear the consequences. So it's smart to make the right choices, which are more likely to happen when your mind is operating and your brain is on fire on all cylinders. The brain can only be on fire on all cylinders if you're looking after your body well and you're eating well, because what you eat serves the brain. And if you're looking after your body, then what is beyond the body, which is your inner tuition and much more, is able to guide you beautifully. So you're not just using logic and reason, which is part of who we are. It's part of the mind, the logic, reason. But when you transcend that, you've got something else that works from a different source, coupled with your inner tuition, but it's much bigger than that guides you to where you go each and every day and how you think and the choices you make. So I want to talk about sleep, and I have made some notes because I want to get everything in, and it's going to be a long video. It's going to probably be another 15 minutes talking about sleep. So grab a cup of tea and pen and paper if you want, and listen in. First thing that's important to understand is that we must not regard sleep as just, we just go to sleep and wake up. Sleep is the most important ingredient to how we think, our life outcome, how we learn, our physical body outcome, and the brain especially. Because I don't remember all this stuff. That's why I write it down, so I get it out. You see, we've got what's known as this little nut thing at the base of our brain called the pineal gland. And it's at the base of our brain. And the pineal gland works with the daylight cycle. I have talked about the circadian rhythm so many times, that we as human beings are designed to work with the sun, the moon, the tides, we live naturally who we are, our body makeup and our technology within us, the human part of our technology, not the hybrid part, which we have, but I'm digressing. The human part of our technology is designed to work with nature's rhythms. Now, the pineal gland is a very important gland in the brain because it releases 4 different types of hormones within certain hours. And those hours are based on the day-night cycle. There is no way of getting around that. And for us to be operating in harmony with nature and ourselves, we need to be releasing those 4. The pineal gland needs to release those 4 hormones at those times when we sleep, so that we are working effectively in every way that I've just mentioned earlier. Now, that can only ever happen is if we are regarding the 8-hour sleep cycle. Look, let me tell you, and by the way, I don't even sleep 8 hours a night because I wake up naturally after 7 hours. That's not the point I'm making here. It's what you do most of the time and what you're working towards once you've got the knowledge. We're designed to sleep 8 hours, and it's very obvious once we understand what happens in the brain during those 8 hours, because then if it doesn't happen in those times, it's not going to be as effective. So let me go through this with you now. The ideal time to wake up, to sleep and wake up, is 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. Especially during the winter months. In the summer months, okay, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. You know, the sun comes up earlier. How many people do this? I know you don't. But if you were raised knowing this, especially parents who've got children that are, you know, studying well into the night, they're dying. They're just slowly dying at such a young age. And if you were aware of this, I mean, I used to study till late. My children did as well. I didn't know any of this. I was ignorant. Totally ignorant. Told something else. Given the wrong information. But I'm giving you correct information because a lot of this stuff is all coming out in these times that people are just dropping dead with all sorts of diseases, not least some weird things after 2020. But we are a sick and diseased nation with chronic disease epidemics, mental illness epidemics, infertility epidemics. And then we wonder why. Well, you know, this is where I'm trying to give you some insight, and it starts, in my opinion, with sleep. So let's talk about what 4 hormones are released. I wonder whether I actually wrote this down. I've done it on the other page. Yeah. So you've got serotonin, melatonin. I'm not going to go into great detail. You can look this up. Serotonin, melatonin, arginine, vasopressin, and epithylamine. And they're all released at certain different times. And I will go through that in a minute. We've also got 2 different types of sleep. We've got the rapid eye movement sleep, which is where we dream. And then we've got the non-rapid eye movement sleep, where all the cleaning goes on of the brain. That's in the early hours of the night, where not only are you detoxing and the liver is cleaning, but also the brain is cleaning its memories. It's taking memories from one place, I think it's from the hippocampus, over to the other side of the brain, so that it empties the brain so that you wake up fresh and you can retain information properly. Before midnight, I'll go through these 4 hormones in a minute, but before midnight is when the non-rapid eye movement is at its peak. That's why they say every hour of sleep before midnight is worth 2. It really is. Get to bed early so that you fall asleep and get into this deep sleep really early, so that all this cleaning, it's like a showering of your brain, literally is, because of how the water within the brain works overnight. I won't go into that. I've read it. I won't be able to articulate it as well, but it literally is a showering of the brain. And if these things aren't happening, the brain is stagnated and you become dumb. You can't think properly. You will not make the right choices. And that'll be very evident in your health outcome and the choices you make in life. You'll make some really stupid choices, which could damage your entire life, actually, and your health. So that's not NREM sleep. Non is the cleaning out and the detox of the body. And the other thing is, before midnight is when the hormones are secreted. Hormone secretion is actually cut down when you don't sleep before midnight. And that has catastrophic effects over the long term. On the other hand, rapid eye movement sleep is dreaming. And when we dream, we create. That's our creative thinking and creative mind that is working. Dreams mean a lot of things. Don't ignore them. But just for this purpose, for the purpose of this video, understand that rapid eye movement sleep is creative sleep. And that's when ideas come in. And I often find, always actually, when I've had a good night's sleep and I'm waking up, always wake up naturally, never, ever, ever with an alarm. That's a sin. Change it. Change it. Change what you can with what I'm saying. Okay? Because when you wake up naturally, you go into these different hypnotic stages. There's a name for them. I can't remember. Maga, whatever it's called. Different types of frequencies. But anyway, during those frequencies, when I wake up, is when all these thoughts come into my head. Thoughts come from outside in. They don't come from in your head. Thoughts come from a frequency that you live at. If you're living at a frequency of nature's rhythms, that will take time. The right thoughts will come in. And they might be what you need to do today. They might be ideas. They might be pictures. But those ones I'd recommend that you remember, if they're coming from the right frequency. You know, sometimes we have thoughts that come in that have been in our mind that are disturbing us. It might be to do with a family member or your parents or your concern about money or a job or something, and they come in at that time of the morning. Well, if that's happening consistently, then you need to look again at your entire way of life and your sleep patterns as well. But let them come in and let them flow through. That's fine. So that's your non-REM and your REM sleep. The brain cleaning I've explained to you happens in deep sleep, which is in your non-rapid eye movement in the early hours. Basically, from the hours of 9, whether you sleep at 9 or 10 or 8, but those few hours before midnight is when the non-REM sleep, and then the balance shifts where you have less non-REM and more rapid eye movement sleep. So less non-rapid eye movement and more rapid eye movement sleep. Now, let me just talk about the hormones before I explain things that you can do to help you sleep properly. So the serotonin hormone is the feel-good hormone. That's for your mood. Most people know that. Seriously lacking today in society, which is why so many people are depressed. Which is why I'm saying sort out your sleep first. Melatonin is released always in the darkness. It's a fix and rejuvenate. Now, when I say it's released in the darkness, that's why you mustn't be using your mobile phone. I'm going to talk about that. Stop watching TV and all that blue light that mimics the sun's blue light, but it isn't the same. Stop all of that by 7:38 in the evening, and definitely by 9 at the very latest. Do not let your phone come into your bedroom. You should not have a telly in the bedroom. If you have, take it out. I mean, that's stupid if you have a television in your bedroom. That's dumb. And if you have a television in your bedroom and you've got children, you're a dumb parent. Full stop. Is that what you're teaching them? Stupid. Idiot. Right, melatonin is a fix and rejuvenate. Melatonin is a body's hormone. It needs darkness to work. Before we had electricity, how do you think people slept? Electricity's destroyed the human being. And now this stuff is literally killing us off, finishing us off. Now you have the third hormone, arginine, vasopressin. That one's a painkiller. Yes, you have a hormone at night that's released by the pineal gland. That's a natural painkiller. What it does, it alleviates pain and it promotes deep sleep. That's why during the day it's important to exercise, especially some kind of high intensity interval training, so that it allows the blood to move and it allows your lymph to move, which carries all the toxins and the waste, so that at night this hormone that's released can help get rid of the pain and help get rid of the toxins, because pain is always manifested in waste and toxins in the body. That's what pain is. There's something you need to get rid of. And the brain plays a big part. The thoughts play a big part. It's very deep, this stuff, and it's all centered around the whole. You cannot think in parts. It's all wrong. We've been deceived and lied to since the Renaissance period. So that's arginine, vasopressin, the brain's natural, the body's natural painkiller hormone. And then you've got the epithalamine, which slows down aging, holds on to, is like memory retention is very, very strong when this is released. And that's why people who've got good memories are going to be sleeping well, regularly and consistently. Generally, the probability. But if you're not sleeping at the right times, and if you're not sleeping consistently well for the right number of hours, you're going to be suffering, because you're going to age faster. This slows down aging, this particular hormone, and you'll be able to, that's, why do you think one of the contributory factors of those that are losing their memory, we know what those two diseases are. Why do you think? I mean, they're probably likely not sleeping at the right times for long enough. That's one of the contributory factors. It's really important you understand this. So dementia, for example, I mean, it's not just that, of course. There's a lot of other things going on, but I'm just talking about sleep today. Right, now let's talk about the things that you can do to help you sleep if you're struggling with sleep, okay? So I've mentioned the timings. You're more likely to fall asleep if you get into bed early. So during the winter months, be prepared to be in bed. You've showered, done everything by 9 o'clock. Get a book if you want to get a book, but not a book that's going to challenge your brain. Just a nice, easy book to read, a storybook or adventure or something that's easy on the brain. Always have the window open, just slightly. I always have my window ajar. So the way it works for me is I've got my window ajar. In these cold nights now, I don't have the window open during the day. I have it open at night, and I prepare the bedroom before I go in so that the bedroom is nice and warm. The window's open and my duvets are thick. The idea behind it is when the heating turns off at 9:30, 10, the bedroom will cool down and I'll be warm inside the bed and there'll be air circulating. I'll keep the door open so that there's some kind of cross circulation taking place. That's really important to maintain that kind of consistent temperature. I've talked already about your computer, not having the computer with you. The other thing is, in the day, you need to get out in the sun, because the minute you get out in the sun, when I wake up in the morning with my cup of tea, I open the door and I show my face to the daylight. There's no sun there, it's there. The body clock starts, the circadian rhythm connects with me and says, well, she's up. Yep, I'm the sun, I can see her, let's start the clock. So the whole body clock of the hormone release and everything else that happens in the day starts at that time. Whether or not you see the sun, you've got to get out into daylight. It's really, really important. The other thing I do is that I always shower before I go to bed. Now, this is important. Shower and bath, or bath and or. First of all of that radiation and toxin that we have in the air from the phone, the EMFs they call it, you want to wash that off. I even wash my hair. I don't have to shampoo it, but I'll put water over it. And I have hot cold. So I'll go in, I'll have a nice hot, and then towards the end of the shower, I'll slowly switch it off to cool, and then turn it back to warm, as warm as I can take it, then back to as cool as I can take it. It's practice, right? And then what you're doing is you're getting your blood to come to the surface to heat you up when you're cooling your body down. And when you're heating it up, the blood is moving. So you're moving, you're creating that movement. The movement, it's very important. Space and air. In Ayurveda, there are two specific terms for that. That's really important, okay? I also try to have a nice hot drink, either just before bed or a little while before that. And for me, it's always hot milk, raw milk. I might put some nutmeg in it. Sometimes I even have hot chocolate. But I use a good natural kind of chocolate. One I've got at the moment is like pieces of ground chocolate. It's just lovely. Or nutmeg I mentioned, or I put a little bit of turmeric or a little bit of honey, but I put something in, it works for me. Sometimes and oftentimes I'll have a chamomile tea, or you can get these tea bags with chamomile and valerian and small amounts of other things that can help you sleep if you're struggling. It just calms the mind. Herbs calm the mind down. Look at calming herbs. Do some research on it and use those in your tea bags, either fresh or just get tea bags. Read, I explain that. Eating. I will never, ever eat. For the last meal I have is at 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I may have a soup in the evening about 6. But at least 3 hours my stomach will be empty. You do not want to be digesting food at the time you sleep, because the body and the brain needs to cleanse for all the reasons I've explained to you. So never sleep on a full stomach, ever, ever, ever. You need to quieten the digestive system down completely so that the brain and the pineal gland that releases the hormones can do its work. So do you understand why? You have to get into the habit. The last meal at night should be a very small meal. It's a light soup. The biggest meal, in my opinion, there are different schools of thought, in my opinion, is when the digestive fire is at its highest, when the sun's in the sky. Kind of makes sense. And that's between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So you can have a nice big breakfast at 10 a.m. and or have a nice big lunch and a lighter breakfast. Some people want to have a very big breakfast. That's fine. It's still in daylight. And a smaller lunch. We're all different. It works for me, but not a meal in the evening. No way. Just a soup. Nothing that needs your digestive system to work. Of course, how we eat and what we eat is also very important. And you know this. Just want to make sure I've explained all of this. Open window, warm bed, zero TV, computer, Wi-Fi. Turn your Wi-Fi off at source. Turn it off. That radiation radiates and vibrates throughout the house and affects the brain. It's very dangerous. Once upon a time, when electricity first came in, I think in the early 20th century, and people started having electricity in their house, or late 19th century, you would hear people say, I'm not having that in my house. That's dangerous for my health. This is electricity. And now that's become so normal and everyday. And now we've got these stupid phones and frequencies and towers everywhere that are killing us. And see how even electricity, turning the light on, has been normalised. You really want to start switching your light. When it gets dark, Get candles or get very soft lights, red or something like that, soft lights. These things affect the brain and the hormones. So really, these are really important things. I've got these LED lights in this house and I will not switch them on after 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll use the other lights. I've got the ones hanging off the ceiling and I use them instead. But then I'll just put the table lamps on and switch these off completely. It's just about being aware. And I should use candles more often, but even candles, you have to be careful of what they're made of and what kind of chemicals they're emitting as well. Sun exposure, shower, light, hot milk. Yeah, I've explained pretty much all of the things that I do. Yeah, and I can't tell you how important this is. This is the difference between night and day. It's different from you being an individual whose life is going to be happy, joyful and successful, or a person who's got a dead mind that can't make decisions and is making all the wrong choices. And it affects your entire life and the life of your children. This is so, so crucial and important. And if you're, I will get around to doing this, and you do nothing, you are stupid. Sleep is so important. I can't emphasize this enough, which is why I'm using these words. You're killing your children if they're sleeping late and they've got a phone in their hand. You're killing them. Just a nice slow death. Stop it. You're killing yourself. And the other thing is, I'm very aware when I'm looking at people and I'm perhaps listening to what they have to say and they might be giving me advice or just giving me anything I can learn, I always look to see what their sleeping patterns are like, what their way of life is about, whether I can take them seriously or not. It's not the one-off night, but generally. Now, the other thing is this. Last night, I didn't sleep well. I slept from 10 till 2, 4 hours. So I woke up tired, but I got those 4 hours in. I was in bed at 9. I got those hours between 10 and 2. So the cleanup took place. And the good thing is I feel tired. But people who sleep 6 hours a night, 6 regularly, which is not enough. It is not enough. They wake up thinking they've slept well, but they have not. And it has massive detrimental effects on the brain later on. If you want to know what that is, you want to read this book. I've talked about it before, Why We Sleep, Dr. Matthew Walker. This man is a neuroscientist, I think he is, but this man has conducted years of research on sleep. And he's done tests, he's done all sorts of things to test 6 hours, 8 hours, and the difference between 6 hours and 8 hours is phenomenal. For those people, like, for example, now I am studying, I'm on a fantastic course, but the point is, I know that the hours between 4 in the morning and 6 a.m. study time is where I'm going to retain and memorise and remember the information. I don't want to memorise it, but retain and understand the knowledge. Which is why I'm now working towards going to sleep at 8 and getting up at 4 and sitting down by 4:30 to study for a couple of hours. Because those couple of hours study is going to be worth 6 hours of study after 9 o'clock in the morning. You see? Understand how the mind works. And if you're getting 6 hours a night every night, and you wake up thinking how to set, it's more dangerous than having 4 hours because at least you know you're tired. 6 hours, you don't know you're tired. You think you're okay, but you're not okay. And it will shorten your life and you will die faster and you'll probably get a chronic disease a lot faster as well, a lot quicker. And then you wonder, why am I ill? You see, it's a cumulative effect of your way of life. Anything else you read, I would say to you, read this book. It is probably the best book, which I've talked about for years. I've had this since 2020, 21, I think. The other person you might want to look at is Barbara O'Neill, the naturopath. She talks about Dr. Matthew Walker as well, by the way. But yeah, focus on sleep. Make that a very important part of your life. And that's why I've gone on and on about it, and it's nearly 40 minutes. I'm going to leave you there. Have a good rest of the day. I think it's the longest video I've ever done, but it's important. Have a good day. Bye-bye.